Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crabb, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to MaxWorldLive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
4 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, the 21st day of January, and a famous day it is if you're in Iowa. And if you're not living in Iowa, I would ask you to continue to listen to the program today, because we're going to explain something that's fairly unique to Iowa, and that is the Iowa caucuses. And obviously, when they are held in presidential years, we have the media swarming around us for 5-6 days, up before that, and they show hay bales and pigs running in the street and, everything that Iowa's not. But today is the, every 2 years we get a non-presidential one.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a bigger deal today because we've got some major seats that are coming open.
Yeah, well, actually, the seats won't necessarily be determined in the caucus. Basically, what midterm caucuses are all about would be deciding platform. You get to submit platform planks, as well as you have people who can opt to. They're sending delegates to the county convention, and from the county convention, the district convention, then on to the state convention. Also, people can run to be on their county's central committee. So it's mainly focused more on leadership, conventions, and issues, or the platform, than any election that we have going on.
Shane Vanderhart is our guest today. He writes the blog Caffeinated Thoughts, which is it's not all politics.
Mostly, but we discuss culture and theology as well. We're pretty eclectic that way.
And Tom Coates, of course, in on Tuesday. Now, have you ever been a city or county or state or representative or anything like that to the caucuses, to the district conventions and things?
No, they won't let me, Mac.
They won't let you. Why won't they? I think I'm getting set up for a joke here. Why won't they let you?
I don't know.
No, it's not that they won't let you. You just don't do it, or you really don't think they will let you.
I don't know. They might, but in all honesty, it probably wouldn't be as smart for me to get any more involved with politics than I am.
Yeah.
Some people said I've already gotten too involved in those things, and
like your daughters.
Yeah. Some family members have made that observation that I'm adequately involved and I don't need to be any more involved in politics.
How politically correct they say it, adequately involved.
Well, a number of people that come into to our offices are not Republicans and not conservatives. And if, I've already been out there on some issues.
But don't they esteem to be when they grow up?
Seem to be what?
No, esteemed to be Republicans.
I said esteemed to be what? Oh, well, they're Republicans, but they just think that the business ought to take enough priority that I shouldn't make my own thoughts and beliefs that known out there, which might drive off potential Democrat clients. And I think they're right. So I do as much as I do, but I don't think I want to do more.
Yeah, and I suppose I can, but I think it's unethical for a broadcaster, a talk show host to sit on a committee for either side, even though I might be clearly one side or the other. But
I guess I've been on the Central Committee before for the Polk County Republicans. Of course, I'm not as esteemed broadcaster like you. I'm just a lowly blogger.
Yeah.
But it's all about, whoever I work for, whatever my clients might be, because I do have a side business, or basically my living is 415 Communications, and I have to remind people that I don't blog for a living. That doesn't pay the bills. But I'm upfront and honest about who I'm connected with and any potential biases. So in this conversation today, just a disclaimer, I'm a vendor for the Republican Party of Iowa. I run their social media. So that will probably help me measure what I say today when we're talking about caucuses.
Okay. All
So
right.
you don't mind upsetting perhaps the Democrats as much as certain Republicans?
That's true. I mean, with caffeinated thoughts, I mean, it states right across our banner, Christian conservative commentary, news and commentary. So we're kind of in your face about it. I mean, we're not. People know who we are. So just within the Republican Party and with conservatives, when there's issues like this that come up, I mean, most people know that I do work for the Republican Party of Iowa.
But it's nice you put it on there.
Sure.
It's always nice to be transparent. I
Yeah.
mean, do you have anybody on any bridge committees or anything here in Des Moines? Because bridges are a big deal in politics now. I guess you can shut them off and slow them down, and man, they'll just make you a hero or a villain.
Yeah. I don't think we have anything quite like what you see in New Jersey, but
Do you? Let's just go down a rabbit trail for a minute. Is that a big deal?
Well, if they can show that Governor Christie did have knowledge of this,
Right.
I think it's a big deal.
But if he doesn't, if he's telling the truth, and this was just something a staffer did.
If he's telling the truth and he had no knowledge, at least he did something that the Obama campaign never did, and that was hold somebody accountable for it and actually fire somebody. So you have to give him credit for that. The question is how much he actually did know.
If he knew anything.
And I haven't read all the details, but I hear of another, potential controversy coming
Coming with
down
the
the pike.
Katrina funds being, and of course some of that's normal New Jersey politics, I think. How are you going to hold him to a higher standard than New Jersey politics has been held for a century?
True.
I just heard the other day, or maybe it was today, that Obama's popularity ratings have hit new lows, 37% by one polling group. And contrast that with a guy that 6 months ago was making all the headlines, comedians were telling all the jokes, his poll numbers were in the toilet, and that's the guy that's the Vancouver mayor. And he admitted to smoking crack at a party.
Oh, the Toronto mayor.
Yeah, the Toronto. I said
mayor.
I misspoke. Toronto mayor, and now his polling numbers have jumped back up to 47%. So he's 10 points higher than Obama right now.
I don't know what that says about the United States,
Or
but that's-
the Canadians.
or the Canadians. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing that I fight with. Probably my pet peeve is hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. And it probably keeps me out of some pretty good debates because to me it's just obvious. But if the Democrats, I mean, let's face it, if Chris Christie was not a candidate or a potential candidate for president, we wouldn't know about this bridge thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, he has the unfortunate situation of being in one of the largest media markets in the country. So I think they would, at least locally they would pick that up. And because locally they're picking it up, the major, you got your major media networks that are picking it up. Is it fair? Probably not.
Okay.
But with Christie, I don't think it's going to necessarily hurt him in New Jersey. What'll hurt him is if he does decide to run for president, because while New Jerseyans, okay, well, same stuff, different governor. With us, it's just we're not used to that type of politics. We don't like that type of politics. So if he's at all, if there's any truth to any of these controversies or these potential scandals with his involvement, it's gonna definitely hurt him. His chances in Iowa, if he chooses to come, he might try to bypass this.
I heard a poll was taken just recently showed that his polling numbers amongst the independents are about the same. They haven't really been hurt, but that he dropped 7 points amongst Republicans as far as popularity. Yeah. And perhaps some of that's because some of the noises he's been making recently have been to try to ingratiate himself with the media, therefore the left.
Yeah.
And some of those statements are in which if he does make the run for president, he's going to need the Republicans first before he ever turns to the mainstream voter.
But how does someone on the other side point at him and say, even if you didn't know, Governor, you're culpable because she was your employee? How does anyone on that side say that as we can just run down the list?
They don't, but my thought is, who cares if they don't hold themselves accountable to that? we as a party hold ourselves accountable. We do believe, that our governors and our president, the buck stops with them, and they are ultimately responsible. Does that mean he resigns? I would say he should only do that if he was actually involved in the scandal. And again, that would be something that would be you wouldn't see from the other side. They would try to ride it out.
But it can't
But Shane, he's talking about the hypocrisy. Do you think that that the Democrats are aware, as they make these statements, of the tremendous hypocrisy that they have when they're making a statement about the accountability of Governor Christie, where Obama has been supposedly clueless on scandal after scandal after scandal in that White House?
No, obviously, I don't think. If they are, they somehow can live with themselves. But I don't think they necessarily see the irony in their comments about Governor Christie. Yeah, it'd be nice to see them apply the same standard to President Obama.
Okay, I'll just stop right there for just a second. So you don't think that the left recognizes their hypocrisy?
Some probably do. I would say some are completely oblivious to it or just don't care.
All right, so the oblivious ones and the don't care ones, are those who we call uninformed voters?
Well,
are those the one that just ignore the facts and vote because...
Hey, it's a Democrat.
Yeah, or he makes my heart feel good or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the way he talks.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of American voters can be lumped in that category of being uninformed. And, hey, they got a D by their name, check, voting straight ticket, doesn't matter.
What about, and I tried to find it and I can't right now, is there any truth in the fact that Obama said something about people voted for him because he was black? Like in the last 36 hours.
This goes back to the polling question, Mac. He was discussing with, I think it was the New York Times, it was a New Yorker. And they asked him about his dropping poll numbers, and his default position was, well, a lot of people just don't like me because I'm black, and that is so wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, he got a lot more support and a lot more votes in many cases from the white community because of that old white guilt that they wanted to assuage it and put race behind him. Well, we did anything but put race behind him, and so he did acknowledge in that interview as an afterthought, well, there are some people that support me because I am a black man. But the reality is, once again, he's trying to sidestep responsibility for the failure of Obamacare and all the other policies and claim, a lot of people just don't like me because I'm half a black man.
I am so tired of identity politics. They're starting it up with Hillary Clinton now here in Iowa. Will Iowa ever elect a female? And I'm like, I would have. Well, I could say I voted for a female in 2008 when Governor Palin ran. I voted for Governor Palin, not necessarily Senator McCain. But I don't care about their gender if they're qualified and they hold positions that I agree with.
I did the same thing on that, too, by the way. I almost didn't vote with McCain. When Palin got on the ticket, I decided it was at least worth casting a vote, which is part of his strategy. It still didn't work, but...
Sure, yeah.
But Shane Vanderhart from Caffeinated Thoughts here along with Tom Coates. And Frank's hanging on the phone. We're going to take your call, Frank, right after the break because we're up against a break here in about a minute. If a black Republican was elected... would we still have the joy from the African-American community that a black person was in the White House?
Oh, I would like to think so. But in certain corners, probably not. Because I've heard from, like, for instance, former Congressman Alan West that, he's been labeled Uncle Tom and that he's not a real, African-American because he's conservative.
I love Alan. Did you say Alan Keyes?
Alan West.
Oh, I was thinking of Keyes.
But I would like to think that they would, but I don't know for certain. I'm certainly there's some liberals that wouldn't. Liberal African Americans that wouldn't.
Well, no, look at the Supreme Court. Look at the opposition to Clarence Thomas. We had Thurgood Marshall, who was a black liberal judge, and everybody celebrated him. Here comes Justice Thomas, and he's called an Uncle Tom. He's vilified. No, I mean, same positions, but conservative versus liberal, no, they wouldn't.
Shane Vanderhart is our guest from Caffeinated Thoughts. Tom Coates in the house, Ryan producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Coming up, we'll continue conversations on the national level and the local level. It's Iowa Caucus Day right here on The View from a Pew on KTIA Iowa, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
Across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom! Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hey, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. I want to tell you about our brand new time slot. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's on the same night, Tuesdays. We now follow Ed Fallon and the Fallon Forum on WebcastOneLive.com. I want to tell you a little bit about our show. Our show is focused on local, state, and national, and sometimes international politics. We like to keep people updated and informed. We also have very interesting guests. So please join us every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on WebcastOneLive.com.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
21 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday afternoon, Tom Coates in the house along with Shane Vanderhart from Caffeinated Thoughts. He's also does all the social media work for the Republican Party. And the only reason we say that is we want to be transparent.
Yeah, but my statements and words are my own today.
Yeah, right. So, but just I think it's good that we say that, though. You know, so I don't want some Yahoo left-winger kook job say, "Oh, well, he gets paid by the Republican Party." That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That sounded like a Democrat to me.
My Uncle Bill Knapp imitation. Well, you can't do that. Rockety, hit the cane on the thing. All right. Caucus night.
Yeah.
What will be the biggest thing to come out of the caucuses tonight?
Oh, well, I don't think we're necessarily going to hear any big thing happening tonight because you're not going to see necessarily the end result of what happens tonight until the state convention, really. But tonight, they're going to be selecting delegates, and that's going to be huge because you go back to 2012 with the organization, the Liberty Wing of the Republican Party, as well as Tea Party and Ron Paul folks, is you had them well organized. They understood the caucus to convention process much better than your average caucus goer. they stuck around and said, "Hey, I'll be a delegate to the county convention." When a lot of folks, once we decided on president, we left. So the Branstad Reynolds campaign, much to their credit, are they don't. It's not something they have to do because their nomination's decided ultimately by a primary, and they're not contested right now. Even though Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, her nomination will be determined by the convention. So they don't necessarily have to invest in the caucus, but they're trying to, gin up interest in the midterm caucus, which is usually woefully underattended.
Yeah.
I've been in, I remember, I think it was 2010. I went to my caucus. It was on the southeast side of town, and they had, numerous precincts in one building, and I think I had maybe 4 people from my precinct there. Which is contrast that to the presidential caucus, and it's usually way over 100. And I'm in Pleasant Hill 1, so we're not going to necessarily see an end result, but people, you're definitely going to have a push to send the right type of delegate to what what the answer to that is, depending on where you land, whether you're more with the Branstad side or if you're more with Liberty Wing or somewhere in between.
Maybe that's why we've never invited, because we're not on the right side, Tom.
Well, probably not. Shane, we've had some discussion on this show with some other guests we've had on here. Your take, what's referred to, at least refer to themselves as the Liberty Wing, which is the Libertarian Ron Paul wing of the party. What percent of the Republican Party voters do you think they properly represent?
Oh gosh, I've seen numbers, but I'm trying to remember. It's a small percentage. I think it's a growing percentage because I think more and more people are, if they're not totally embracing libertarianism, they're becoming. I guess they like at least the less government, more freedom aspect of that position. I couldn't any number I give you just be totally off the top of my head and probably inaccurate. But it's definitely, it's not a majority.
One number was thrown out was 20%.
20%. That's probably accurate. At least, 20% for Ron Paul folks, or 20 people who caucus for 20.
Yeah, the Liberty Party, which meant that they were much disproportionate representation to their numbers. And the question would be, do they really? Because I think they would like to think they speak for everybody, but Rhino moderate Republicans, and I'm not at all certain that is indeed the case. What do you think?
I think it depends on the issue.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to, at least, I'm thinking of statements that have been made fairly recently on the marriage issue and on life.
Abortion,
they definitely resonate with social conservatives. I think there would be obviously a difference in strategy and what legislation would look like, but at least on the principle.
But standardly, a libertarian would say, do what you want to, just don't send me the bill. That would be for, you want to kill your baby, you want to smoke some dope, you want to have one man marrying another, do what you want to, don't send me the bill. That would fly right directly in the face of the Christian conservative backbone of the Republican Party.
Yeah, and Spiker hasn't gone down that road. He's been actually pretty...
He's smarter than that, isn't he?
Yes. I don't think he'd be in the position he's in if he wasn't smarter.
Guys, put your headphones on. We're going to go to the phones where Frank is standing by. Now, Frank called in almost 11 minutes ago, and so he's probably thinking more on the Chris Christie topic, but we'll see. Frank, you're live with us. How you doing today, The Voice?
Good, thanks. Tom and I have got something in common. I think we both listened to Rush prior to the show. But Shane, there's a question here, so hang on. Last go-around, we were offered, us conservatives out here, we asked for Kaine. We asked for Perry. We asked for Gingrich. We asked for Santorum. We asked for anything but Romney. They kept trying to give us Romney. They kept trying to hand-feed us Romney. And when it was all said and done, they gave us Romney.
Yeah, who's they?
Now, pardon?
Who's
that would
they?
Be the Republican establishment.
Okay.
Now, Rush was very eloquent in his thing this afternoon. When he was speaking, I had heard Romney had won the independents by 9 points. Rush said 13. So somewhere in between that lies the number. Now, the question here is, there's a trend going on that there is an increase in so-called quote-unquote independence, and we're trying to enlarge our tent, but our candidate is losing the base. So what happened with Romney is I, as a conservative, as a Christian, abortion-hating, gay marriage-hating Christian, went out and pulled the lever for Romney. But I find many of my fellow conservatives didn't. So the question is here, is these so-called independents and Republicans, there's only two things happening. Either the Republicans didn't come out and support him, or the independents is peed off Republicans. What do you think? What's the difference there?
I'd say, yeah, I agree with you that there was definitely a movement away from Romney, and there was a growing number of folks who were determined. I don't think we can accurately say how many folks that would be, but there were definitely. You look at exit polling, and you could see there were a number of conservatives who stayed home, and that did that was partially to that was that definitely made an impact in the end result. As far as our registration numbers here in Iowa, anyway, independents have always had the greater number of registrations, and when we picked up in 2010, a slew of we grew in our registration numbers as Republicans. I think a lot of that, we saw that movement were former Republicans that had gone independent and were coming back to the party, which probably made perhaps us a little more confident we should have been in 2012, because the registration numbers were a little bit, fuzzy, I guess. So as far as could you rephrase your question?
Well,
as far as
the question is are the Republicans that's not turning out really peed off independents that's left the party? In other words, if Romney seriously won independents by 9 to 13 points, that means that the base didn't turn out, or the base isn't really there because the base is now independent. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it was more the base didn't turn out than the base really is. I know the peeved off former Republican voter exists. I have several friends that fit in that category.
And one question, if you know, what information do you have as to what did the Ron Paul supporters do? Did they sit home? Did they go in and pull the lever for Romney? What happened there? Because I see the next election campaign being the same thing. It's going to be Chris Christie or Jeb Bush for the establishment. It's going to be a Ted Cruz that the conservatives are going to push, and it's going to be Rand Paul again taking kind of the mantle of his father. So I think it's going to be the same thing for the Republican Party all over again. What did the Ron Paul voters, in your estimation, do last time, and what likely will Rand Paul supporters do this time if he don't get put VP on the ticket or win the ticket?
Hey, Frank, thank you for the call, and we'll give Shane an opportunity to answer that. Go ahead, Shane.
Okay, basically, I think it depends on which demographic of the Ron Paul voting block you're talking about. With a lot of the young, college folks, I think they probably went with the Libertarian Party. Some who maybe tack even more to the left probably went ahead and voted Democrat. I would say your older folks, and again, this is kind of more of a gut than necessarily. I don't have any exit polling to back it up, but I would say probably more of your mainstream, older voter that was just attracted by his less government and more freedom message, likely voted for Romney or stayed home or didn't vote at the top of the ticket. So I would not say that voting block probably. I don't know if a majority of them voted for Romney, but I would say a significant number of them probably did not in one form or fashion or the other. As far as what Rand Paul folks will do, he's interesting because he seems to have a wider base of support than his father did. So there's definitely some social conservatives who didn't give Congressman Paul the time of day that are looking at Rand Paul. I'm kind of one of those folks. I'm intrigued by Senator Paul as a potential candidate. I'm also interested in several others, so that's not an endorsement. But he's certainly somebody I'll look at, and I think other folks within the party, are the same. I think he has the potential of drawing more folks than his dad had a ceiling to how many people would be attracted to him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me make a quick comment on the one thing that Frank said. What I've been seeing in the last week or so is that the independents that are always raised up and wined and dined and feted by the media especially, the Republicans have been losing. But the people that they're losing, Shane and Mac and everybody else, have not fundamentally changed their beliefs. They just don't like being pigeonholed as a Republican because the media and our culture has so vilified the Republican label. Mm-hmm. So they've moved to the independents. Now, that doesn't mean that they've changed their core beliefs. And if we present a candidate, as he said, Romney won anywhere from 9 to 13% of the independents. That's because the majority of independents, especially the newly minted independents, are essentially conservative. And what we need to do is produce a candidate that can appeal not more to the left. But when they say independents, they mean moderate to left. Mm-hmm. I think we need to still galvanize a middle right a vote that will embrace that. We're not going to ever get the left, and even the moderate left we're not going to get. So we need to galvanize the middle to right voters.
Exactly, and there's actually a report out there put out by American Principles in Action. It's AmericanPrinciplesInAction.org, where it kind of counters what the GOP autopsy report came out with. So that's something I encourage you to check out. It provides kind of a roadmap for 2016
What's
and 2014.
the website again?
AmericanPrinciplesInAction.org.
Okay. When we come back, we'll dig into the brain of Shane Vanderhart from Caffeinated Thoughts a little bit more on the landscape that we look at here in Iowa as well as across the country in politics. Tom Coates in the house. I'm Mac. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. On KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Before the top Salem Radio Network news at the top, and then Michael Mudloff with, True Blue, 4 to 4:30 with Chris Roloff. Shane Vanderhart from Caffeinated Thoughts encourage you to look at his site, caffeinatedthoughts.com. It's an excellent site, and he does mostly political blogging, but you get into some faith and values, some social issues.
Yeah, definitely. I've got multiple contributors, and like guys like Adam Graham and Brian Myers and David Shedlock. They tend to write more for, on theology and apologetics and culture than I do, just because I have limited time to write. And
why don't you get Tom to write a blog on I don't know, what's something Tom might know about?
Let's see, and finances.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to submit anything you want.
Actually, Tom could write you, and probably shouldn't do this live, but you ought to write a thing on your theory on the gold and what's happening and what happened with Nixon and the whole 9 yards, because I find that story. He has a 5,000-foot view of our economy and our
fiat currency.
Fiat currency that I thought fiat was a little car in movies, but apparently it's a currency. All right, let's come down a little bit. Talk about the race for Senator Harkin. Clearly, you've got Braley over here, and I don't think anybody's going to challenge him, right?
Right.
All right. On this side, you've got Jacobs, you've got Whitaker, you've got
Ernst.
There you go. And Young. Is that right?
Actually, Young dropped out of the U.S. Senate race, and he's now running for the third congressional.
Did you say Clovis at the top?
Clovis is running. Scott Shaben's running. Paul Lundy's running.
So a whole bunch of people.
We got 6 people.
Is Shaben really running?
Well, he's showing up to events, and he's there's some people I'm sure that like Shaben. Shaben is definitely he's got some positions that would not.
I don't know who this guy is.
Scott Shaben is a car salesman, I believe, up in Ames, and he just decided to run for office because heck, why not? And you know what? That's great. I mean, anybody should be able to.
Yeah.
There shouldn't. These seats are meant for citizens to run for. There's no preset qualifications.
Well, we shouldn't all be monolithic, but I was at an Iowa Faith and Freedom forum where they spoke, and Shaben got nailed on his support for gay marriage.
Exactly, and that was some of his issues would butt up against what the base believes.
Okay. But isn't that, I mean, I don't know anything about this guy, but isn't that what gets people elected? Because they find common ground? Or is gay marriage not common ground? Is it decisive? And
I think it's right now with the state of her party. I'm not going to say it's going to be that way down in the future, but I think right now with the state of her party, and I appreciate that. I'll just point that out because I'm in that camp. Being pro-gay marriage is going to be a non-starter if you're looking at winning a Republican primary in Iowa.
All right. So out of those 6 or 7 people, do we have, in your opinion, and you're speaking just as yourself from Caffeinated Thoughts, do we have a top 3?
Yeah, I would right now. Well, I would push it down top 4 because I think our. Because I'm trying to figure out where Jacobs would land in this. He's certainly. He has to be in the top 3 because of his ability to self-fund and fundraise, which you can't discount that, especially when you're looking at being able to buy up airtime, and he's bought up significant amounts of airtime in the different markets here in Iowa. He's that will help raise his name recognition. That's something that all of our candidates right now struggle with compared to Braley, I think.
But they're all gonna struggle except for Jacob.
Sure.
Prior to winning. Now, once they win the nomination, all sorts of money floods in, not just from within the state, but it is be a very expensive rate because of outside money.
Yeah, and I'm talking only right now the primary race.
But see, they're acting like, well, Jacobs don't want to raise money. Well, it doesn't matter. We want the best candidate. Once they become the nominee, they get all sorts of money.
I totally agree with you. Okay. That's
I'm not arguing with you, but I'm frustrated with that comment.
I'm just saying that's what puts him. It gives him. It does give him. It's a strength, okay? I think Clovis, from everything I've read and heard, definitely debating is one of his strengths. And he can talk about any issue with anybody and do well. And just the thought of a Clovis Braley debate makes me salivate.
The other one, and I talked to Steve Scheffler just the other day, and in my workout, the same place Steve does over at Prairie Life.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve said I went to the debates the other day, and he said Clovis and Whitaker clearly won. They blew everybody else away.
And Whitaker has been impressive as well. I think he did very well with the first debate. I personally didn't get to hear and see the second debate that they had, but every time I've heard him in a forum, I've been impressed with his knowledge and depth of the issues. I think he's definitely, has grown as a candidate. He's very well spoken. He has potential name recognition because being a former U.S. attorney as well as former Iowa Hawkeye doesn't hurt, except for maybe Cyclone fans.
Yeah,
but
Cyclone fans aren't that way.
Yeah, hopefully not. And Joni Ernst she's an intriguing candidate as well.
So is that your top four?
That'd be a top
Whitaker,
four.
Clovis,
I know. I'm not whittling it down very much. But I could see those would be. Jacobs' business experience appeals to people. But I think Jacobs has some potential problems. The Register's article on his his involvement with support of cap and trade earlier on. He's kind of iffy on Common Core, and that's becoming, I think, a larger wedge issue than what some people might realize. So education policy, I think he probably would be okay with that running for a federal race as long as his answer would be no federal involvement in education. Period.
Let me say, I don't disagree with your top four, but I think two of them drop back fairly quickly. I don't think Joni Ernst has demonstrated the what it takes to get up and really present herself, define herself, and at any point define who Bruce Braley would be. I don't think she is strong enough. I don't know about intellectually, but she doesn't present well enough. I think Clovis does on that form. I think he's got some other issues, and I think he's more of a regional candidate. I don't think he's got the name recognition statewide nor the funding to get there, and therefore I think Matt Whitaker, who has the name recognition, he was U.S. attorney, he's run a statewide campaign years ago as treasurer, he does have the Hawkeye thing, he's got the name recognition, he's got the skill set, and I think it probably comes down to whether Jacobs can buy it or Whitaker can win it. That would be, I think Clovis and Joni come in third and fourth, and I think the other two probably fight it out first. That's the way I'm looking at it today.
I could definitely see that scenario. Polling hasn't really been helpful in that regard, though, because we haven't seen any direct Republican polling. It's always been head-to-head with Braley, and Whitaker has actually matched up pretty well in the head-to-head, at least out of all the other candidates. He's been within the margin of error with polling that I've seen. So Whitaker is definitely a strong candidate. I definitely can see that.
If money wasn't an issue, is it a toss-up between Jacob and Whitaker?
I think if money was an issue, I think Jacob falls down.
Without his money, if Whitaker had similar resources, I don't think it'd be any contest.
Exactly. I think you're going to see probably more Ernst, Whitaker, and then Clovis as well. Clovis, again, I agree with he's definitely well known in Northwest Iowa, not as well known in other parts of the state. He has been, from everything I've seen and heard, he's definitely building some grassroots. He's doing a lot on little because his fundraising has really struggled, but he's got a lot of volunteers working for him. And he certainly has made the rounds throughout the state. So he's doing the hard work needed. It's just whether he can have the resources he's going to need down the road.
Yeah, and he would be, tell me if this is fair, he would be the Steve Deace or the Jan Michelson of WHO. He's a big talk show host in Sioux City, conservative, long time, popular.
Yeah, I'd say probably more Jan Michelson than Steve Deace.
A little more conservative. Or
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
a little less
no,
conservative.
Well, he's conservative. I just his presentation's
Yeah.
probably more like Jan Michelson.
Yeah,
than
they seem
Dace.
to match up.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our last break, and I'm going to take us down a rabbit hole for just a second, or a rabbit trail, but I want you to simply explain to me, like I'm a 6-year-old, like you could write it on the back of a business card, Common Core.
Okay.
I've heard it done many different ways, but I haven't heard it done by somebody who I respect as I do you, because you're going to be unbiased, and then you'll add your bias later, and you'll tell me it's your bias.
I was going to say I'm not unbiased.
No, but I know. But I want to hear Shane's definition of Common Core. We'll
That'd
be
be
back
good.
live here in a minute on The View from a Pew on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program, or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Okay, we're back 10 before the top. Salem Radio Network News, and then Pastor Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church. Shane Vanderhart with us from Caffeinated Thoughts. What's Common Core?
Okay, in a nutshell, Common Core is a set of benchmarks in English language arts and literacy and mathematics developed by the National Governors Association and Council of Chief State School Officers in conjunction with a group called Achieve Incorporated that actually wrote the standards.
And they are proposing that these standards be implemented in our educational system across the board?
The Iowa State Board of Education in July of 2010 adopted the Common Core, and what that essentially did, and what it does in every state that adopts them, and 45 states have, it replaces the current math and ELA standards, English Language Arts standards, with Common Core. States can add up to 15%. So they can tweak them a little bit, but they can't rewrite, nor can they subtract from the Common Core state standards.
And what's your opinion of it?
My opinion is I'm against, mainly because I see it as dataless reform. I don't see any evidence backing up that backing up the idea that centralizing education around a set of common standards will raise student achievement. I'm concerned about, they claim international benchmarking, but when I look at the standards, I see them doing things that leading countries in math, for instance, aren't doing, like pushing Algebra 1 back to 9th grade, where your leading countries in math are introduced in eighth grade, as well as like Massachusetts and California that had some of the strongest math standards in our country before the Common Core, also introduced in 8th grade. James Milgram, who was on the validation committee for the Common Core math standards couldn't sign off on them. He's a professor of mathematics emeritus at Stanford University, and he basically says our kids under Common Core by 5th grade will be 1 year behind their international peers. By the time they're in 7th grade, they'll be 2 years behind because of some delayed algorithms. Go ahead.
Here's an example of what somebody put online about Common Core. 7 plus 7 is what? 14. Well, apparently with Common Core, you would learn that 7 plus 7, you would learn that 3 plus 4 equals 7. Then take the 3 and add it on to the first 7, you get 10. And then the leftover 4 from the first question, that's 3 plus 4 equals 7, and add that to the first sum of 7, and you'll get 14. Now, is that sarcastic?
It's being sarcastic, but it's pointing out a problem with the way math is being taught with Common Core aligned textbooks, in that they're adding tons of steps that kids have to do.
When the kids bring home the math homework and the parents don't know how they're getting there, they can't be of help. I've heard that.
Yeah,
and you would agree with that.
I would agree with that. That's certainly something I'm hearing a lot about.
Wow.
Parents are frustrated because they don't feel like they're able to help their kids, and their kids aren't getting it, and they're stressed out. And that's not even to say what's happening in kindergarten and 1st grade. I've heard testimony from child psychologists who have claimed the kids are, in their offices, stressed out beyond all, because of some of the expectations that are being placed on them that experts are deeming, basically developmentally inappropriate.
All right, so the question is why then? The follow-up question is why are they doing this?
The reason why they're wanting to do this is, for one, there's an argument that we need to have common national standards because of the kids that transfer from state to state. But when you look at census material, and that's basically, that comprises less than 2% of all American students. So are we really wanting to drive education policy based on 1.7% of American students?
Well, aren't we lowering the bar so everybody gets a ribbon?
That argument could be made. I think basically the focus is going to be on because advocates will say, well, the Common Core is a ceiling, but that's when you're aligning your standardized tests, which should be for Iowa be Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium if the Iowa legislature approves it, and it's aligned to the what they say is the ceiling, or the floor, not the ceiling.
Yeah, you meant the floor. I knew that.
Yeah, the floor, not the ceiling. That's what they're going to focus on in the classroom, is the floor, not the ceiling. Again, looking at the math, I'm afraid Governor Branstad and has been pushing STEM, science, technology, and engineering, mathematics. But frankly, I don't see how Common Core gets us there, because kids are going to need to be prepared for instance, taking calculus when they get to college. Now, that wasn't me when I was going to college. Math was not my thing. But some kids are attracted to those fields and are talented enough to be in those fields. But I think the Common Core, unless there's some sort of track that each school district does, and they'll have to do this in spite of Common Core, not because of it, they need to be able to make sure kids are getting trigonometry and more advanced math when they're in high school. Because Jason Zimbia, he was a lead writer for the Common Core math standards. He admitted that if a student wants to take calculus by the time they're college freshmen, they're going to need more math than what the Common Core requires. And I look and I see the goal of trying to get more kids interested in STEM and prepared for STEM, and I don't see how this gets us there.
Shane Vanderhart is our guest, and we're going to wrap up today. We've only got about a minute and a half, but I got a question I want to ask you.
Sure.
Way off base here.
Okay.
Michelle Obama. Does she become the Hillary Clinton of the 21st century?
I don't think so. I think she's too polarizing.
Okay, you don't see that woman. You just see her and Barack just fade into the
one quote that's going to kill her. Not figuratively, obviously, not literally, but I wasn't proud of America until now.
Let me make a quick comment on Michelle. I think she and Barack very well might hang around Washington, D.C. After this, and just to make sure that the Republicans don't have the ability to unwind much of what they've been able to accomplish in those 8 years.
But what are they going to do?
So there'd be regular press conferences. He would be a president in exile. He would do regular press conferences, and because the press is who they are, they would give him the credence. And so do not expect him to, like a gentleman, go away like George W. Bush or past presidents. Even Bill Clinton went away more than this. I think you will see Barack Obama and Michelle very much involved going forward.
Yeah.
Good. That history says that'll turn him into a villain.
We'll see.
You know? Well, what's the quote from Dark Knight that if you hang along, if you're the hero, but you hang around long enough, eventually you become the villain?
I guess I'm not familiar enough with the movie.
Okay, I think it is. Steve Dace told me that. All right, Tom, thanks for being here as always.
Yes, sir.
Shane, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Glad
it
to
has.
have you here. You're
Good to be
always
here.
welcome. Always welcome. Ryan, thanks for doing a good job producing today. I want to remind you of something. We've got a marriage seminar coming up that we want to tell you about, and rather than me just babble on the radio, go to marriagematterslive.com. If you know, everything we do around here ends with live because we're live. So marriagematterslive.com. It's coming up Valentine's weekend at Grace Church out on the east side of Des Moines, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to play the newlywed game, and we're going to break into men's groups and women's groups, and eventually we're going to do a renewing of the vows. So check it out, marriagematterslive.com. And until I get a chance to see you again or hear you again, of course, Reich Places here tomorrow and Thursday, and then I'll see you back on Friday with The View from a Pew. Until we see each other again, I ask you for one thing, and one thing simple, please. Just pray.